Hello there, welcome to another new Spurs Order podcast under the Touchline Fracker banner. I'll be your host once again, X-Pac, and I'll be joined once again by a tired but maybe not so tired as last week, Yao Bruce Busia, aka Scott Hall.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
Not so tired as I was last week. A bit more fresh. I think what fills me with joy is that Spurs are not playing for another 10 days because they've pissed me off. But we will get into that.
We will. We were hoping to enjoy the last of our Easter holidays. It didn't quite end up like that. We didn't even, by the sounds of it, get to enjoy much of the whole Easter holidays.
Yeah, it was lovely.
In general, to be honest. Very busy times if you're a parent. But lo and behold, let's get into it. So, I believe you predicted a draw.
I think I predicted either a 2-2 draw, or I think I had us as a 3-1 victory.
Go. Okay.
And neither of those things came to fruition. We got absolutely... You know what? After about 20 minutes, things felt fine. And then we had 10 minutes of mayhem. And then it carried on into the second half, another 10 minutes of mayhem, and the game was done. I couldn't believe it.
We were just taking players off again. It was like, was it Conte at the Emirates all over again?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Just clapped. I was like, wow, we got absolutely beat up. And we've said it in the group, there's been a huge back and forth. But for me, the players, shambles. That midfield and the attack were an absolute shame. I know the defense conceded 4 goals, but some things are just unfortunate with, but our actual midfield, they should listen to the words of this podcast and really take a long look in the mirror, because that was an utter shambles of a show.
Were you happy with the starting lineup initially? I expected Sarr to start personally. We obviously went with Bentancur, Basuma, and Maddison. I think you were asking for Højbjerg to start, funny enough.
Yeah, I said it should be Højbjerg and Bentancur.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, considering I thought Newcastle, I didn't expect them to press us as high as they did, and yeah, that would have been a game for Bentancur had they not have pressed. I think, knowing what we know now, he may have even suffocated in that press, but I mean, yeah, who knows? He may have even done better than who was 6 at Basuma. But talk me through that first half anyway, because you did say we started well. I agree. I thought we were beating their press well out wide, by finding outlets out wide in the initial stages. We were looking like we were in more control than Newcastle. But yeah, how did you feel that kind of first half played out?
I think like I said, the first half, you could split it in almost to 2 halves in the actual first half. Start off well. Don't know what went wrong, attacking wise. We seemed to stagnate a bit. And then out of nowhere, Mickey's covering Romero, and he completely slips. And it's just like, oh my God. And the slip was so damaging. It wasn't even like, oh, he slipped, and other players can recover. He slipped and literally, Isak and the goal. Well, we had no chance. But then minutes later, Porro, honestly, what are you doing? Why would you blindly kick the ball backwards like that? And obviously, he's put Mickey in an absolute shocking position. He slipped again. Gordon
did he slip?
Slipped or fell or went down too easily. Either way,
I think he might have gone down a bit too easily.
He's trying to recover for his teammates absolutely fluffing their lines. And so, it's 2-0 and their heads went. And that's what annoyed me the most. 2-0 is not the end all be all in football. We know that 2-0 is arguably one of the worst scores in football, because all it takes is the opponent to get one back and, your tails are up again. But no, 2-0, we basically handed them the game. And like I said, that midfield in the first half and even in the second half, the majority of them shambles. Maddison tried, but one guy out free, it's not enough.
Yeah, I don't think Madison played well at all. He
Or
might.
like, one guy out of three. Like, if you want my ratings for him, it would be a 6 out of 10.
That's general.
Because he was probably the best of the three.
I I don't know what's with him at the moment, where he doesn't. What was the game before? Because he didn't play badly in that either, but he just again just seems to be taking more touches. I'm not sure if it's. Oh, I don't think it could be complacency, but at the same time, yeah, you've got to chalk it down to probably just not being match sharp enough yet. I just felt like in the first half of the first half, as we'll
Yeah.
call it, we were getting him on the ball quite a lot, and there were times where he could have combined with Son earlier. There was a
Yeah,
few
he was a
times
bit
he
slow
could
from
have
up.
released Udogi or Werner out wide earlier, and he doesn't seem to trust Werner. And yeah, okay, I can kind of get why, but I mean, if you give him the ball early, he actually can be quite dangerous. It felt like he maybe decoyed him a bit to try and slide in Son, and then by the time he got round to that option, then that opportunity was gone. Just the timing and the fluidity and the cohesiveness of our attacks just wasn't there time and time again. And there was a time, I think it was just before the first goal, where we managed to win it up really high in their half. I think it was Bruno G that ended up getting dispossessed. Son ended up on the edge of the box. He could have turned. No one, I'm guessing, no one gave him a shout. He could have turned towards goal, but decided to hold it up with no one pressuring him. And then he put Madison, gave him a short ball while he was running towards him. Um, I'm guessing Madison tried to make a run off him, and then they tried to combine sort of, and it just fell apart. And they kind of just counter attacked us and scored from there. And it was just time and time again where attacks would break down and the midfield wasn't there to effectively counter press enough to see get us to prevent these counter attacks. And yeah, I just think when we take so long to attack, sometimes our midfielders commit forward a
Yeah.
little bit too much, and then obviously that's then the attack breaks down and we get countered when the midfielders have already committed to spaces forward, which is, I guess, another instruction of Ange's. So um yeah, this isn't necessarily questioning Ange much, although there are adjustments I think he can make. But yeah, I think the application of the players are certain individuals who are just out of form at the moment, especially Son as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Were the main things as to why we lost in the way we did. Um, but yeah, that was my take on it. And I can't even lie, I didn't watch much of the second half. Probably watched up to an hour.
Yeah,
Um,
I watched the whole game, but I tuned out. I'd absolutely tuned out. By the third goal, I was like, might as well watch Paw Patrol.
and it just speaks to what you said about how we were supposed to react. Like we could have, I see, come out, I say a little bit better in that second half, and we conceded almost straight away. Where
Yeah.
again, like another attack broke down, we weren't necessarily ready for the turnover, and Isaac's free. He's completely free and in his own half, and he still manages to wriggle free of any of our defenders. Um, yeah, Van der Ven wasn't
Yeah,
quick enough
that
on
was
that occasion
probably
either.
that was probably his worst game. But it's so unfortunate that it was his worst game when he was arguably one outside of the goalkeeper, of course, probably the only player on the pitch that was really trying to get a result for us, and that was our defender. Imagine that. Our actual centre back was the only player that I can look at and be like, you know what? You had an absolute shocker of a game, but you tried. You were the only one that I genuinely looked at and thought, I find Romero, whatever. But like Mickey had the shocker that, you know, 3 of the goals really ran through him. And essentially for me, he was still the only one that I can be like, you know what, you can walk off that pitch and not be too mad. There's some players on that pitch, if they're here next season, it's gonna be long.
Yeah, we got the list going off again in the group chat, don't we?
Yeah,
Added a few names, which were forgotten. Just quickly before we address that, this Papa Blankson asks with links to Morgan Gibbs White. I think that's from Football Insider though, so
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
take it at face value. But with links to Morgan Gibbs White, hypothetically, do you think we're replacing Football Genius?
Who is Football Genius, by the way?
I don't know.
Because he's put LO at the end. So who's he referring to as Football Genius? Because that's what I would like to know before I even ask.
Replacing. That's a good question. Actually, we'll fire that one back at you, Papa Plankson.
Yeah, once we know who Football Genius is, then we can answer it. Because I've got a feeling he's referring to Kulu, but I could be wrong.
Oh, why have one of us called him a Football Genius?
Probably Tobias.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
He's got some shots.
That's how Toast calls Madison. Okay.
All right.
Very
No.
valid.
No, I don't think Gibbs White, if we were to purchase him, he would probably be battling for a place with Madison, but I don't think he would be replacing Madison, if you want my honest opinion. I like what Morgan Gibbs White brings, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not particularly jumping over the seams for him. He's 24 years of age. I think what you've seen of him is pretty much the best, or it might get slightly better at Spurs, but I don't think it's going to get ridiculously better where we're like, this was a great purchase. I just think he's a great asset to have, or good asset to have in a strong team.
Fair enough. And yeah, with the likes of Hill probably leaving, Ndombele will leave. I don't know where, but probably will leave. Tanganga rode on, who are getting good low moves, but again, slightly better at that. Lo Celso, probably La Liga, Højbjerg. Everything seems to point to Italy, like his agency based in Italy. Juventus seem to be interested. Reguilon's got a good low move again. He apparently did quite well at United, but he got frozen up because they thought they had too many left backs.
Yeah.
And I think they misquoted their squad a little bit. Doing relatively well at Brentford, apart from the sending off, which he was in my FPL team for, the prick, but
Fantastic.
never mind. This is what pissed me off about the Newcastle game as well, actually. Everyone in my league either had Ortega or Kelleher as their starting goalkeepers, and Dubravka got on the bench. And neither Ortega and Kelleher started, and then they just got the Dubravka clean sheet of nothing. He's the worst keeper in the league, man.
Yeah.
And it's so infuriating that we didn't
take
even
your pick.
properly
Sometimes
test
it
him.
works. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Look what Charleston did to him in the reverse fixture.
I know. Absolutely murdered him.
Such pain. Yeah, that was jammy. You said in the chat you don't think we can get more than 70, 80 million. I think if you add Reguilon to the list, which I think, yeah, it's got to be in between 70 or 80 million fairly easily, right?
You'd say fairly easily, but I'll be honest with you. Like, there's not much money, I should say, in European football. And I think European football have become a bit more shrewd with their business. You know, unless you're an absolute superstar, they're just not going to go crazy with the spending. So someone like Reguilon, don't be surprised if we don't even get a bid for him, because nobody's going to really pay 20 million for him. Nobody. He hasn't done enough in recent seasons to even warrant that. You'd be going purely off name, and his name is currently in the bin. So there's no chance we'd be getting 20 million for. If we get 20 million for Reguilon and Højbjerg, literally, if we get like 40 million for just the two of them, some of the greatest business I've ever seen in my life.
I think we can get in around 20 million euros for Højbjerg, but with all the names listed, obviously that was 7. If you include Reguilon, that's an average of 10 million per player. I think that's doable.
That's how I actually averaged it out. I averaged it out around 70, 80 million on the basis of, like, I imagine that most players will probably go for 10 million. There might be a few loans here and there. We might even have to take a complete and utter loss on Ndombele, because I don't know what's happened to this guy.
We might have to take a loss on Ndombele. No, we are.
No, we're taking a loss, but we might have to we might have to actually do an alley deal with him where we just tell a club, take him.
There are other players that could go. That was a shrewd bit of business by Everton, actually. I think that's why Dele hasn't played this season, though. People like players like Emerson, Royale, and Richarlison as well, who I believe have both actually been pretty useful this season, could well go as well. And I think Richarlison could be worth a little bit, you know.
I don't. I feel like, if I'm being brutally honest, if we do get an actual central striker,
Yes.
then two things. Actually, if we get I'll answer Papa Blankson's message there. So if we get an actual centre back like Sickerman or Simakan, I think that's how you pronounce it, Simakan, who can play right back and right centre back. Yes, it would be nice to see and switch it up to like a 3-4-3 kind of formation, kind of thing, which would be sick, you know, especially with the personnel that we got. It could really work. Also, if we did get an out-and-out striker that was, say, competing with Richarlison, listen to me and listen to me good. I'm not really a fan of Richarlison, and I wouldn't mind selling him. But if we didn't, you could have a front three of a new striker, Son on the left, Richarlison on the right. And you know, with Richarlison's work ethic, it could. I mean, this season, early in the season, when he was starting on the left, he was actually playing pretty well. If you want my brutal, honest opinion, him on the left, he's outside of Perisic, and Perisic only played like 2 or 3 games. He's actually been our best left winger. Richarlison's actually been our best left winger this whole season. I know Werner might have the stats, but he's actually garbage.
I think it's been Brennan.
No, Brennan right side.
Yeah, he's probably been our best right-sided player as well. But I think for the left,
Brennan left side. The only game that sticks to mind is when we played Man City away from home. Everything else smells like garbage.
Arsenal, Palace as well. Mostly there were cameos though. I don't think he started a lot of these
I wasn't really over the moon about the Arsenal game. Good game, nothing crazy about. He played on the left against Wolves. Started off well, completely tanked. Palace, meh. It's Palace.
Yeah. Palace away though. It's usually hard ground. Never mind. Really. I'm sure I can think of more examples as well, but I can't.
No, I think Richarlison on the left.
For my boy.
Richarlison on the left has been arguably our best left winger. Son up top has been our best striker.
Yes. I mean, for the last part, especially. But arguably, another part, we could probably debate that for the whole podcast. What are the new striker choices for you, Papa Blankson asks? I love. Do you know what I was actually going to think of both? I was thinking of both those names earlier. My choice is either Solanke or Xerxes. They can do the channel runs and hold up play. Yeah, both of these players. Although I've only seen a handful of games of Xerxes, both seem to have great feet, especially Xerxes.
I would take Xerxes or Xerxes. I can't pronounce it. In a heartbeat. I won't take Solanke unless he's cheap, and we know he's not going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be like people. I think you might have mentioned that we might be able to get him a good fee because of the whole PSR thing. But yeah, that was the case with Everton and Richarlison, and that I don't think was a cheap fee. So
Everton and Richarlison wasn't a cheap fee. But what I mean by Solanke is, if it's 40 million, I said 35 in the group, but really and truly it will be about 40. If it's 40 million, then I'd say trigger it.
What about 50?
No.
If it's 40 and then future fees based on appearances and whatever else targets, it rises to 50.
Yeah, then I can live with that.
I think I would slightly edge on taking Solanke a bit more than Xerxes. Probably because that would be ideal, right?
I'm not even exaggerating. I know we're gonna get more into it as we go into the pod, yeah. But honestly, either we go out and get 2, not call them monster, but strong strikers, yeah. And we kind of circumnavigate the wing position for a season, or go out and get 2 wingers, a 6 and 2 centre backs, or a centre back and a right back. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
What are the priority of positions you'd want us to fill?
The first position that needs to be. You're right.
Full back / centre back.
The first position we definitely need to fill is 6.
That's the highest priority.
Basuma's done.
Yeah, what is his deal?
I don't care. I don't care. I don't
Awful
care.
again off the ball if
I don't care. You know me.
listeners don't know what we're alluding to, but
Listen,
wow.
listen. I do not care. He's done. Yeah, he's done. He had everything was handed to Basuma to literally take off. Started off fantastic. Got his red card against Luton, and it has been in the pits of hell ever since. So I don't really have much sentimental value towards him. He can either touch the bench for next season and earn his place back, or he can be sold. I couldn't care less. I want a 6.
Very fair. Okay, and see then obviously then it will probably go forward line, wide forward or striker, then full back, and then second choice keeper. I guess in priority order.
If I was to, if yeah, I'll go 6, wide striker or forward, ideally a striker. Then I'll go centre back. That's my third priority.
Mm-hmm.
Right back as fourth priority, and then probably another wide player as like a young wide player. That's a fifth option.
Yeah, I'm sure Noosa's still available. Nico Williams, maybe. I just want to say as well.
Apparently, Nico. I could tell you what the list is of like who we've been attached to. So,
Okay, yeah.
we've been linked to Sesko, Xerxes, Solanke, Olmo, Nico Williams, Nusa again, and Sickerman.
So many different profiles.
I don't know if I would call them so many different profiles. If you want me to be brutally honest, I
Simakan.
think a lot of them are well within the remit of what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think I just mean in terms of like the forward line. I was expecting you to name like wingers or forwards, and then it went Olmo. It's like, oh, okay, attacking midfielder.
Yeah,
Who I'd love as a Olmo would also be great. Simakan seems really, really good, and he could probably play inverted right back or centre back, either or. Yeah, promising names. It looks like we're doing just doing our due diligence with the scouting and just having a load of options for each position.
who would
Great.
you have as a 6?
As a 6, I would definitely look into Kakare at Lyon. From what I've seen, or I'd be very. It's not going to happen, but I'd love either one of Douglas Luiz or Bruno G.
Okay, all right,
Um,
cool.
I
So
would only see the whole Douglas Luiz thing happens if we turn around to Emery and be like, "Look, here's Lo Celso. You love him. That and this fee, mate. It's a very long shot." And then Newcastle obviously have their PSR things. They'll probably have to sell someone for a big fee if they want to kick on, and that would either probably
from
be Isaac or Bruno
from what
G.
I hear of the Newcastle lot, they don't actually have to sell. It's they can't buy.
There's me being optimistic then.
Yeah,
I like the look of Billy Gilmore, but I just have questions of how he is off the ball.
yeah,
Um, and I'd have to probably do more scouting just around Europe because I'm sure there's a name there. I think this Goodmanson guy who plays in
yeah. He's one.
Italy for Genoa keeps on getting mentioned, but I don't know how he is as a 6. Like it seems like he's like an all action kind of box to box
Yeah,
great player from what I've heard of and very, very briefly seen. As a 6, it's a very obviously niche specialist role, isn't it? So
yeah.
I'm not sure. What
My
was you thinking of a 6?
So you're pretty much aware of who I've said in the group. So Douglas Luiz, Bruno G. If we're gonna spend, we should spend wisely. And I wouldn't mind going for Prem proving, and those are the two that would be Prem proving. But my wild card, which might shock everyone, because I wouldn't say actually no, it's gonna shock everyone. My wild card, because I've been watching a lot of like what's going on in the Bundesliga.
Okay.
And young Kimmich, you might not be so young anymore. But I was like, hey, Bayern Munich, they look like they're falling apart. So I'm like, I'll take, you know. Oh, I see Papa Black says Palacios from Leverkusen. I haven't seen much of him, to be fair.
Can't see him
Edison, who
leaving.
we're linked to from Atalanta. Again, I haven't seen
Liverpool.
much of him. Onana, no, don't want him.
Whoa. I'm glad you said that. Actually, I was actually open to the idea of Onana, and then what was that? Oh gosh, against Chelsea. My goodness.
Yeah, he had a wow. He had a stinker.
Bro, he got hooked. He was, and this
He
isn't
had
a
a
good Chelsea midfield.
wow. I
This is
said
like Conor Gallagher and Casado absolutely bossed that
they
midfield.
they had him on a stretcher. I said they caused him haram. Oh no. Nah, anybody by that name can never come to my club.
I've got to say, Gallagher, like obviously he was helped a lot by
No, don't
Casado.
do
He had
that.
a great game. He did it. He had a good game.
I couldn't care less. He's another one that's an utter no. If I see him, or no, I'll be mad, but I can probably like give him time. But if I see Conor Gallagher, I'm done.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, still need to talk with Mr. Soft on that one. I feel like it'll be a therapy session. I just wanted to say on the forward as well. I don't think Solanke gets enough credit for how clinical he is.
But he's
Because
only recently become clinical. It's not
that's all he
like his
needs to be.
career has been like that.
I don't know. In the championship, he was obviously quite clinical.
Yeah,
But
but I
that's
mean,
obviously a
come
level
on,
below.
we know the step up is insane.
Yeah, it takes a while to adjust. Tony's the same, and he's become like a good striker now. We'll see how his career pans out. It's all a little bit in the dark about where he'll go at the moment, much like
What
your background.
Solanke's been in the Prem 18, 19. I don't know what years he was with Bournemouth, but he's been in the Prem 18, 19. The years that he was in the Championship, he was 42 games, 15 goals. You know, nothing too great, 8 assists. And then 2021, 2022, he was 46 games, 29 goals. That's a quality return. Came back to the Premier League, 33 games, 6 goals.
Yep.
And now he's
That
back up
season
to,
looked great.
you know, and then this season is 32 and 17. It's not enough for me. For me, he would. If we're getting Solanke, we have to get another player. I'm sorry. There's no way I'm blowing any sort of budget to get Solanke. And
I like him a lot. I can't even lie. Like I just see Bournemouth; they barely create chances for the guy, and he's still putting up those numbers. And
yeah,
he's still a good team player as well.
but
Brings
then we're
everything
falling
to
into this whole
presses.
bracket of so we're falling into I'll use Kane as an example. People were like, Spurs don't really create that much for Kane. No, we used to actually funnel 90% of our attacks through to actually help Kane. And you know what his goal scoring record was underneath us. It was ridiculous. Yeah. He goes to Bayern. Bayern obviously do the same with far better players and a less competitive league. And he's still firing. So Spurs wasn't the problem in terms of creating.
At what cost?
Okay, well, such is life. But Spurs wasn't the problem in terms of creating chances for Kane. And obviously he's gone to a better team and he's still scoring on all cylinders. I don't think Solanke comes to Spurs and just because there's a jump up in terms of chances created, he then jumps up from say 17 to 20 goals a season. I honestly don't see it. I think he's a good Premier League striker that could get you between 10 to 15 goals a season, which is what we thought we were getting with Richarlison or Toby for.
I was just seeing how many goals Zirkzee got, because the other advantage with Zirkzee as well, like we play in a very similar way to Thiago Motta's side, and this season he's surely not 12. No, I don't know. Solanke's not enough here. I don't know how much this is going to be. I think it's 12 league goals. Obviously, playing in a very similar system to what we play now, and
far younger. That's where I can give him leeway.
Exactly. Although I don't mind spending money on the player at his peak, as long as we can get like 4 to 5 potentially very good years out of the player. I think it's a given. But at the same time, I think Arsenal should get Solanke. Like, that'll be silly if not.
They want.
Yeah.
They want Isaac.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's 10 league goals and 4 assists, so 14 goal contributions in 30 games.
Not too
While
bad. That's one in
still,
two.
obviously, he's a 22-year-old, so
Yeah,
it's still not bad, to be fair.
it's 1 in 2. It's not
Um,
too bad for he's young in striker years. You
at
know,
all.
considering the fact that what I see Papa Blankson said we could send 45 million and plus Valise on loan to Bournemouth. I don't know if they'll take that, but that sounds like a great offer. To be fair,
Yeah, and you would be happy with that as well.
like I said, if it's 40, I don't really want to spend 45 flat on Solanke. But if you can, work out something, I don't know, 35 with 10 add-ons or 15 add-ons and Valise on loan all day.
Fair dues. Um, it's been interesting to see some of the takes on that kind of future planning, especially on a forward line. And obviously, shout out to Kane as well. Like you mentioned, he was firing on all cylinders for a Bayern team that plays through him. They just beat Arsenal in the semi-finals, and I think Eric Dyer might have even got man of the match for the second leg.
It was quarterfinal. No, he shouldn't. He shouldn't have even. Man of the match for the first leg, maybe he could have been in for a shot, but not
I
that
thought it was
second.
better in the second leg.
Nah. Kimmich was the guy. Actually, no, it wasn't. It was Laimer. Laimer was the guy in the second leg. That he was absolutely outstanding.
I thought he had a few wobbly moments. Actually, I'd give it Kimmich.
Yeah, he did have the key moment, and he was great as well. To be fair,
I don't think he's joining us, by the way. But
hey,
wouldn't be
listen,
mad at him joining if he was to join. But
I'm not gonna lie to you. I've literally been watching not because of Kane. I've actually been watching because I want to see what kind of players leave because of the season that they've had. And Bayern are in real issues. Like there's a lot of arrest with the players. The players don't like Tuchel. Tuchel's going in June, but that hasn't really changed the tune of a lot of players.
It's funny because the two top candidates to replace Tuchel have turned them down.
Exactly.
Nagelsmann's just signed with Germany. Alonso stayed on at Leverkusen.
Exactly. So it's not
creating a
looking good.
dynasty.
It's not looking good, bruv.
Really?
Yeah, man. And look, this is a team. This is a team that obviously they flipping signed Eric Dyer. What message are you sending to your fans?
He's redeemed himself.
Has he?
Yeah. He knocked out Arsenal, Champions League semi-final.
Well, he found out who slapped his brother.
Doesn't need to. He slapped Arsenal.
Nah. Unless you find out who slapped your brother, there's no redemption.
Kane
You can't let some.
brother.
Oh, and let me pose this to you. I've come into your house and slapped your little one, and you've never got me back. Impossible. Look at how your eyebrow even went. You're like, nah, I would have got you back. I would have got you back 100%. Eric Dyer went into the crowd and asked everybody, who did it? And everyone was like, you, and walked away. No, he hasn't redeemed himself.
Fair. With that all said as well, if obviously Kimmich was to join us or not, I think that heavily leans on us getting Champions League football or not. Do you care if we got Champions League football or not, though? Just obviously seeing today, like, Europa League doesn't actually have Champions League teams drop down into the competition, thus making it easier to win.
Doesn't make it easier to win, but cool.
I was trying to think if Sevilla kept on dropping out the Champions League to then just go into the Europa League and win it, or were they just in the Europa League the whole time?
No, the early years of it, they were just in the Europa League, and then I think the last few times they won it, they actually dropped out into the competition and just slapped up everyone because it's their cup. But I do, if I'm being brutal, I don't sit on the fence of, we're not prepared enough for Champions League. I think that's absolute nonsense. Like, if you qualify for the Champions League, you have an entire summer to plan correctly for it. Correct. So I don't really sit on the whole we're not prepared for the Champions League. But if we did not get Champions League and we got Europa, I wouldn't be upset with it either, especially with the way that the tournament is going back to how it used to be back in the day. That part I can feel like, all right, cool. Yeah, now we can have a real shot at a European competition and win it like we did back in the day. But no, if my honest opinion is, if there's a shot for us to make it to the Champions League, make it to the Champions League. especially with the way we budget.
That's very fair. That's very fair. JG says, "Are we going to talk about Madison's recent performances?" We have to be fair. As I say, I can't
It
really
was
tell
poor.
what it
If
is.
you've missed it, it was poor.
Cool. I didn't think he was bad against Nottingham Forest, but my word, he should have been sent off. To be fair,
Okay.
he was.
So should Yates, but
Oh, mate, Yates in that reverse fixture.
yeah,
Don't even start. He deserved that punch in the gut, but
yeah.
at the same time, got to keep the energy the same. And Basuma got sent off in that fucking reverse leg as well. He's not been the same since, especially off the ball, man. Anyway,
He's been stinking. Like I said, I'm happy to go into next season without Basuma starting as our number 6. That's my opinion.
yeah, fair. I mean, if these performances keep up, who knows? Hopefully Sarr can come in fresh off Ramadan for our next fixture, which
Yeah.
we'll preview. It's obviously a big one, North London derby at home. I'm quietly confident for that. Obviously, we'll preview it more next week. But Arsenal have got to play two more times, so that'll be the third fixture they play before we have to play them. They look flat as it is, so I think that kind of brings the skill gap a bit closer. Like obviously they're quite clear of us at the moment, but yeah, they're flat. Arteta's not really using the fringe players, so yeah, quietly confident for that. But again, we'll get into it. There's been more talk about how our kind of forward line should be kind of prioritized and should look next season. And there's been talk, especially amongst Ali Gold, whose work I do typically like. I do like listening to him and
Yeah, same.
watching his videos. But he said, as almost pretty much an absolute, that Son will be the starting left winger next season. 32, 31, 32. Can he do that? Can he be Salah?
I don't think he can beat our Salah, but he can definitely start at left wing. Like, I'm not really worried about Son going back out to left wing. I think this season was a bit different in the sense of, for most games, he was far better up top. But in recent games, we've just realised Richarlison's actually better at holding up the ball and linking up with players than Son is in certain games, especially when the game is more open. It's Son's bag, like he can, finding space in behind, and then it's all hectic from there. If he's starting as our left winger next year, then that for me suggests two things. We might circumnavigate getting a winger in the summer, not go all out. We might get a youngster like a NSO maybe, that can also play in those roles. And it also means that I feel like we're going out and out for a striker, as you alluded to earlier, which would be good. That's what we need. We need a 9. We need an actual, a real problematic 9. And I will say this: if Son is in the left wing position, those crosses that Johnson was putting in for Werner, I'd have more faith in, the end product with Son getting on the back end of those as opposed to Werner. But if Son is going to be our starting left winger for next season, and I'm hoping this means we're not triggering the Werner deal, because that guy's garbage. He is absolutely trash. I'm not falling for it.
I'm not that keen on Son being left winger, I can't lie. I think he's lost a little bit of a yard of pace. He barely can dribble past a man. I guess you could make concessions, whereas when we in the opposition half, Madison can float out to the left and let Son drift into the middle.
We don't need Son to dribble past anyone, by the way. Just fashion space and whip it, and we know he can do that.
Can he?
Yeah.
I've only ever seen him do it really against Newcastle.
Because he hasn't been
at
asked
home.
to. He hasn't actually been asked to. But we know Son, left foot or right foot, if he fashion space, he can whip it.
I don't know. There's been games he started out on left wing this season, though.
Yeah, but most of those games we've been looking to play him in behind. It's a completely his game on the left wing this season, as opposed to what has probably been asked of Werner. Two different things. Two complete different things. Werner has been clearly told, use your pace. get to the byline, cross it. Doesn't
Yeah.
even do that fantastically well.
Boy. Okay, fair enough. I think that will wrap up. Pod, unless there's any other questions in the chat. No, looks like we've covered everything. Again, Yao, thank you for joining me on the nice evening. Well fatigued.
Yeah.
Again, look out for our content at New Spurs Order on X/Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. Audio form for this will come out every Saturday morning, so you'll be able to listen to this. We'll see later on. The YouTube video will be up as well on the Touchline Fracker YouTube channel. But for now, big up New Spurs Order. Come on, New Spurs, and peace.
Peace.